Welcome to this fifth episode of the bilingual podcast, Del Cor al Món, which means from the heart to the world. I'm your host, Mireia. I'm a heart leader, speaker, and teacher. And today I'm so happy to be here with Joren de Bruin, who is a personal freedom coach, a guide, a speaker, and a wild and modern life bridger. Hello, Joren. Welcome.
Awesome. Very nice pronunciation. What a nice opening. Thank you for having me here, Mireia. Very
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I always have doubts with pronunciation. That's why I ask people
Yeah.
about their names, their surnames.
We practiced a
Um,
little bit together behind the screen.
yeah, that's what we do before.
No, awesome. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so for some people who are listening and maybe they don't know you, or maybe they're wondering what is actually a wild and modern life bridger, like what does this man do? I'm sure many people know you, but for the ones who don't, how would you describe yourself or what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I hmm, I mainly really love to embody what's on my heart, what's on my soul, what I want to live, what excites me in life, and this has drawn me into personal development, healing through natural elements, the power of our own mind, breath, cold, and I mean, I started really from a place of I had an injury when I was 21 years old, and this whole journey of recovering basically through um, yeah, the conventional road of science, of healthcare, um, didn't really work. I was left in chronic pain for 1.5 years. I had a lower back issue, and coming from a professional soccer background, I had a lot of like professional doctors and good medical people around me who wanted me to improve my health and get better and get back on the pitch. Um, but 1.5 years later, and trying a lot, that didn't really work. To the point where I was laying on the floor and I couldn't really move my leg anymore. I had cortisone injections, chiropraxia, physiotherapy. I tried many things. Um, and to the point where they said, Joren, we've tried so much. We don't really know what to do anymore, to be honest. So either rest or take medications. And you can get a recipe of 600 milligrams of ibuprofen, it's a painkiller, and then hope that it gets better, a combination of that. And so I was a little bit hammered and disappointed, to just say it lightly. And I went home really with a box of pills, and I was like, okay, I'm 21 years old. I'm in the weekends laying on the floor on the ground in chronic pain. Is this going to be my life? Just based on hope that it gets better. Um, and this question has always fascinated me. Like, can't we do more than we have been taught? Aren't we capable of doing more, healing ourselves, having an impact, and basically aren't we more powerful than we are
Mm.
taught? And so, well, this led me to meet Wim Hof, the Iceman, um, father of friends of mine. And 2 weeks after meeting him, I started practicing these techniques and really dove into my inner world, and against all odds, or against all the the expectations, I healed very quickly within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And using a combination of breath work, of using the cold and yoga exercises, um, and that was very remarkable. And I learned that, wow, there is so much more out there that we are not tapping into. Um, and through that journey of really dancing and improving the relationship between my own body, mind, the breath,
Mm.
and the pain, really,
Mm.
um, I I learned it basically ignited my path of discovering and exploring and carving my own path and going against the grain and researching and being my own experiment in many ways. And so, from maybe a very conventional life, I mean, I was living in a city, I was in a professional soccer environment. I was basically
Mm.
on a high speed train, you know, towards a dream that was
Yeah.
very, I would say, narrow minded.
Mm.
I was spearheading towards a very maybe simple life in a way,
Mm. Mm.
and and this injury really pulled me in and opened my mind, broke me open, and so that led me to really explore natural ways of healing. I started to teach, and right now I led about 45 retreats all over the
Wow.
world. I do private coaching. I help men, especially also women, um, with finding their purpose, maybe
Mm.
becoming providers again, and
Mm.
doing that while really feeling like thriving, like enjoying life and being in their life force. Um, and yeah, along that path, tried many diets, from vegetarian to vegan, and then
Been there too.
more like a hunting lifestyle. So
Mm.
from that perspective, to answer your question, to come back to
Mm-hmm.
like wild and modern life bridger, like I started to see, whoa, we're living not a natural, we are in a natural world, but we're also living in a very domesticated world where a
Yes.
lot of our natural potential and healing abilities are not being used to their fullest of the
Mm.
potential. And so that has been my exploration, primitive survival, learning from the plants on the land, um, resourcing your own food, nutrition, how to heal your own body. So that has been a fascination, a passion, an obsession almost. And yeah,
Yeah.
here we are.
Here we are. Wow, yes. I think you describe yourself perfectly because I think you touch on all of the topics that when I think of you, I think of, right? Like you were speaking at the beginning of the power of the mind, of how we are powerful and we don't realize, and how we can overcome all of these health issues or also mental blocks and limitations and fears that we have. And also what you were speaking now about the more wildlife and getting into nature again. And actually, that was my pull, because maybe I should also tell people that I know Joren because I went to one of his retreats in Iceland. And for me, I'm gonna tell a bit the story
Yeah,
briefly. But
yeah.
I was actually in a very bad place in that time after a really traumatic experience. And honestly, when I saw that you were doing this, like this Iceland experience, to me it sounded really weird, let's say this word, because I had never seen anything like that. But at the same time, I felt this pull that I from my heart that I could not ignore. And one of the things that really pulled me there was nature. Like I needed this kind of be in the wild, be in nature. And in Iceland, that I feel it's a place. I don't even know how to describe. Maybe you can describe it better. But
Sagrado, like
sagrado, yes,
sacred, like
sacred.
wild,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
raw.
Raw, exactly. And it has this intensity and this softness at the same time, maybe, or at least that's what I experience there, or this peacefulness.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm very curious about this more nature wilderness part of you. Maybe we can explore that and then go into other topics if if you're
Yeah.
okay with that.
Awesome.
Because you said, right, like we are living a very domesticated life, and I think we don't realize. And I also remember coming back from Iceland and feeling very alive and feeling like it rained and I wanted to be out in the rain and just run. And
Yeah.
I still keep a bit that, but it's true that when I came back, it was like, oh my God. And um, how do you
Opened up
think? Yeah.
opened up to a new world
Yes, yes, and
almost.
being alive as well. To me, that means being alive. And I go out in nature now, and I see the leaves of the trees, and I feel the wind and the sun, and I feel it's more also the life force that you were talking about. That you also said this word, no, right? Really connecting to that life force, to that sense of I'm alive, and I'm connecting to my environment, to nature. So how do you think we can connect more to that, or how do you do this in your personal life or in your professional life?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the theme of like I think this lives a lot. I mean, I also experience that often, but this feeling of maybe feeling disconnected.
Mm.
I mean, I'm also a coach. I also work on the laptop. You know, I also use my
Yeah.
phone. There's also technology. You know, um, and it's very easy within all the distractions that are present in our society. The technology that's creating such a fast pace of like responses, it's very easy to get reactive.
Yeah.
So, right, there's a notification and you dive in it, or there's a message or an email or something that you didn't do or that you still have to do. And it's very easy to go high in your breathing and into your head and really
Mm.
live from your head.
Mm.
And this is often where people describe like I want to feel connection again. I want to feel um, I want to disconnect. What they actually mean is I want
Mm.
to connect with my body. I want to
Mm.
connect with my heart,
Mm.
and I want my nervous system to be in a relaxed state of being.
Yeah.
Um, that's often a deeper call from the body that says, "Hey, come here," and um, like you described, like this deep desire for nature is often almost like a going away from the head and experiencing more your full self. And nature has a almost immediate impact on. I mean, we are nature,
Yeah.
and um, the you know putting your feet on the earth, breathing more consciously,
Mm.
having the sun on your face, like your feet in the river, in the water, or having a dip. It's like simple practices, but everyone connects to that feeling, like this exhalation of
Yeah.
what have I done all this time? Where
Yeah.
have I been? You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, the this is one part of what I love to bridge to people to have them experience themselves again, really. um, Go away from the mind and allow life to move through again, like the zest for life, like remembering who you are, remembering your dreams, remembering your desires, your passions for life. And because it's so easy to get sucked into the have to do's, like I have to still do this, or
Yeah.
think worrying about the future or the past. And the moment you drop
Mm.
into a slower vibration, um, you start to connect again with your why. Why am I here? What do I want from life? How do I want to take part in this amazing, amazing, beautiful human experience
Mm.
on this planet? And when that happens, when you start asking these questions and you feel yourself again, that's where things start to move, and you're like drawn to certain projects or drawn to
Mm.
certain passions or dreams, and you start to really get clarity in your next step in life again.
Yeah.
And that's the next step. That's the next phase, to then use this energy to boom, create what you want in life, live
Yeah.
the life that you truly want to live from your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I was kind of in a hypnotic state listening to you. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And because we can actually listen to ourselves when we are in our body, right? Like we are
Yeah.
not distracted by all of these things that you were speaking about, or getting into our minds, like our mind telling us things, and we are in that level, so we don't actually feel ourselves, we don't actually feel our heart. And how can you move in life, how can you follow your intuition if you cannot listen to it, if you are not in a place of listening to it? And
Yeah. Yeah.
um and I also like what you said about all of this connecting with the body and with the breath and with the cold, because I feel there are many ways to do that. And for example, I've done some more feminine practices, more that involve another kind of movement, more non-linear. And um, but also I think it's important, maybe that's why you work with men, or you have some things especially for men, I don't know, but also to build our inner masculine, and do a more, because the way you enter into the body and through the breath is different, for example, than the work that I do in a more feminine aspect. And I feel that for me was also important when I went to Iceland, because I'm more of a soft person, or I think, oh, and to really get more real, or to build this inner strength, right? And through this breathing that is more intense. And I remember people there breathing more intensely, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I can take
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like almost like a too muchness. There's so much
Yes,
coming through.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, what you're bringing up for me here, what comes alive for me is um, the, the the reconnection with nature there, and doing. I mean, we do a lot of breath work there. We go into the cold, and
yes.
from the outside, it can look like, oh, there's a lot of use of power and willpower.
Mm.
So maybe it's maybe more penetrative and more masculine, right?
Mm.
And I think yes, there are like qualities that we explore there, um, and in the same time, and I think this is an interesting perspective, is that um, yes, we consciously and intentionally maybe challenge ourselves,
Yeah.
right? It's challenging, and in the same time, you learn to hold space for all of this emotion and
Mm.
this power and this uh, whatever emotion that wants to come through, like the too muchness, like wow, maybe frustrated, or like you want to maybe jump out of your body. There's like an energy, like a fluidity that wants to
Yeah.
move through, like a very feminine, emotion, an energy emotion, really. And in the same
Yeah.
time, you learn to hold space for that, because
Mm.
that's what you can learn by connecting to your breath, and by going into the cold. The more calm you can be within there, the more you can hold of life, right?
Yeah.
More of the emotions and more
Yeah.
of everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the depth that you can experience, the pleasure that you can experience, becomes broader and wider.
Mm.
And so I think it's a beautiful dance of
Yes.
masculinity, but also,
Yeah. Yeah.
femininity, and we stretch that capacity of both, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. And I've actually had these teachings in a more tantric space, and you're saying the same thing, right? Like we need this inner masculine, this spine, to be able to then explore more life, or to feel more of life
Yeah.
of us. And I think that's also interesting because it's true that it can seem like a very masculine thing or activity. That's why I was also a bit afraid of, oh, is this for me? Like, yeah, going into the cold. Like, for people who don't know, it's. I mean, it was the month of March in Iceland. We were. There was snow, and the first day Joren told us, okay, get lay in the snow. And I
Vamos.
was like, yeah. I thought, okay, maybe we would start with our finger in the snow the first day, not the whole body in the snow. But yeah, I'm joking because I laugh at myself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
I mean, you're
then,
not alone there. You're not alone.
yeah, yeah, and that's why I also want to say this publicly because I think sometimes we can be very quick, or the people who are a bit more like me, to think, oh, I cannot do this, like this is too much for me, this like I'm a more of a soft person, and really here I think it's important to build our willpower and our strength without letting go of this more softness space, or because you also hold a very safe space, and that I felt very safe, very held, like I never felt like I was pushing too much, that you were pushing me too much, or that it was, so I feel there's a good balance. But yeah, I think it all comes down to this, what you were speaking maybe a bit at the beginning, of this power, of this really believing that we can actually do more than we think we can. And there I've proved myself wrong there, because I thought I cannot do this. Like I cannot get into the water. I cannot go in my swimsuit or whatever in doing a hike in the snow. Like, it's impossible. You have
Yeah.
all of these beliefs, and then it turns out they're not true.
Yeah. 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 And that's where going back to like bridging a wild and modern life. It's like you get a taste of whoa, my body is so much more powerful than I've been taught. This domesticated um, part of living of my life is not truly uh, um, hmm, maybe the cold and the breath work is like a remembrance, like wow, if I can do this, if my body can do this, what else is possible, right?
Yeah.
And what else is there to explore in myself or in relation with my mind, my body, which is also nature, um, to to revisit maybe. Hey, is there something here to deepen or improve or nourish maybe? Um, so I mean, yeah, what you're describing is I think what many people have going to my retreats or Iceland, where we dive into the land, we dive into the ice, and something awakens there, something opens up, and maybe more like abstractly said, like um, you become more of who you already are instead of
Yeah.
maybe living more from your mind or having wondering about who you are or what your purpose is or what you're capable of. And also, um, are you so dependent on external forces, on life, on
Mm.
professionals, or do you have much more power in yourself and much more resources in yourself that you can tap into to make a difference in your own life and maybe even in others' lives?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And still, I was thinking, I was a bit quiet because I was thinking that fears are still there, at least for me, because the cold and this kind of experience, I don't know if maybe you describe it like this. I don't know exactly how you describe it, but they are a mirror of your own life. So I remember there that, for example, for some people, the most difficult part was the third stage, right? Like getting out of the water once you're out of the cold, and then um,
Still,
rewarm your body. Yes.
yeah,
And for me, for example, the first part was the most difficult, like dealing with my mind, with all of these fears, with all of these thoughts, like I cannot do this, I'm so cold already. Like, and I feel this is also a mirror for our own life. So in my own
yeah,
life, I have all of these fears in my mind as well. When I want to go towards my dreams, when I whatever,
yeah.
and I was thinking about this because fear. Um, this doesn't mean that fear is not present anymore, right? And I don't know if you have anything to say about this,
Oh
or
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I
Okay.
love what you're saying. I love, and I think this is very valuable for people to hear also because, um, I mean, in the in the whole cold exposure movement, I would say there can be quite of a let's just do it and power through
Yeah.
kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
Um, and I think people are missing out
Mm,
on, um, I mean, not to say that that is not also good because sometimes it's good to build that muscle of discipline and willpower and not letting your fearful mind like win all the
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
which maybe keeps you stuck and in
Yeah.
procrastination. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's really good to break through,
Mm,
right? But like you describe, is you notice often fears coming up, and I think working with the cold is such an interesting tool to mirror what's going on in your mind. And what you said, like I always like to say, like the cold is like a mirror of your physiology, a mirror of your mind, a mirror of your emotion, a mirror of how you show up in life. And when something challenging comes up, cold is just a metaphor in this sense that um, it is showing you how you're thinking when you are afraid
yeah.
or when you are faced with certain challenges.
Yeah.
What is that voice in your mind? Hey, okay, I feel afraid. It's very important to feel that. I think you should really feel afraid because you go into a life or death situation, really. It is
Yeah.
freezing cold, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it is something to take serious, not only that,
Hmm.
but also um, I think it's more so about really learning what emotions are present inside of you, what is the communication that's coming from within you, like any kind of emotion, and then listening to what it is telling you or saying. So with the cold, maybe there is certain stories that come up. Oh, I'm not capable of doing this.
Mm,
Or you see all these people just going in without, a second thought, and you're like, oh, there must be something wrong with me, or
mm,
maybe this is just not for me, right? There's all these little
mm.
stories that come up, and or maybe a distrust in your own body, or the relationship
Yeah.
with your own body is maybe one that in the past wasn't a good relationship, and you're
Yeah.
like, no, me and my body can't do this.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful mirror to see, hey, what are the stories in your mind when you're faced with certain challenges? And that is such valuable information.
Mm,
Um, and my invitation there is always to listen. Listen to the communication. It's not even about going into the cold, it's about learning to feel what's alive for you, what are the stories that are coming up, and from there, exploring, is that really true? Is that
mm,
really true what the story is here?
mm.
Or can I maybe take one more step and explore another edge? What is there? And broadening in that sense your capacity, your trust in yourself, and really learn to work with the fear instead of the fear leading you. but you leading yourself and working through these challenges. And that's what you can bring with you in your daily life. Once you learn to, hey, I can do this, the fear is always the same. The fear is always has to do with a story. It's always a
Yeah.
certain feeling, and it's the same when you go public speaking. It's the same doing your first, second, or third, podcast, and the whole world can hear you.
Yeah.
Um, it's the same. So can you notice which voices come up, and can you connect to your tools and to your resources, to your breath, to share
Mm.
your gifts and experience life more deeply? Um,
Yeah.
that's what it is for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, you wanted to say something else?
No, I don't know if I answered your question or
Yes, yes, you did.
if
Yeah, you brought up so many things that because the fear topic really speaks to me, and yeah, yeah, you really answered my question. And I was thinking that what you were saying, that it's not only about, oh, I'm going to this retreat in Iceland, or I'm going to the cold, let's do it, and then it's over, kind of. So no, it's actually this awareness that you were speaking about, and getting really aware and curious of your mind patterns, and then obviously you bring that to your own life. And
yes,
I also like what you were saying about listening, because I remember in Iceland sometimes you said that sometimes it's not as important to go to the call as to really listen to your own body, if it's a yes, if it's a no. And I had some no's there. And I remember you were saying like, this is brave, like this is, and I was even a bit, I must confess, I was even a bit angry, or like not understanding, like, how can this be brave? Like, I'm not going into the cold. I'm, but it's true that it's also a learning, and to know yourself, like, okay, this is a no, and that doesn't mean I'm not brave, or that doesn't mean I'm not capable, or
yeah. I mean, oh, I feel like an exile when you say that. It's like, I mean, so many people don't feel their no in life, and
mm,
they tolerate things that are actually a no in their life,
wow, yeah, I hadn't
right?
thought of, yeah,
And the more you connect to your no, like if your body is a no, if your heart is a no, if your nervous system is a no, are you really listening? Are you really honoring that?
mm,
And then lastly, are you making the decision to respond to that consciously, right? There's a couple of layers there. Many people don't listen. Many people don't honor their no. And I mean, this goes into, bad relationships,
yeah,
abuse, doing substances, staying lifelong in a certain job that you actually don't like, right? What is a
mm,
no in your life?
mm,
And are you really hearing that? Um, and I think what you described as an experience in Iceland is like a remembering, like, hey, whoa, there is a no here, and then you have a choice. What do you want to do with it, right? Um, I think that's very powerful because you can start saying no to what you don't want or what doesn't feel true, and you can say yes to what you want more of in your life.
yeah, 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 exactly. And maybe my problem, in quotation marks, is that I think maybe there are more people who always say yes. So these kind of people who don't listen to the no's, and then there are the people who say mostly no, and then it's like we don't go to the edge, and we're like, "Ah, okay, I'm just gonna." And I think maybe that's why that I think it's obviously really important to listen to your no's in your life, but then there are also these people that maybe you as an instructor, you need to kind of push a bit to the edge, or
Yeah.
invite them to go a bit farther, because otherwise
Yeah.
we would just
Yeah.
stay there with our songs and with the
Good.
music.
Good point. Um, when there's no, like, how authentic is it, and how true is that no? Like, there's also a self inquiry process that you can apply here. Like, what is this no about? And ask your body
Mm.
this question: what is this no
Ah, yeah, I
about?
like this.
Right? Why is it a no for
Mm.
me in this moment? Um, maybe you have an injury. Maybe
Mm.
you have a virus in that moment, and it doesn't feel right to go into the cold.
Mm.
Could very much make sense, right? Maybe it's a no because um, there is a group pressure. You see everybody going
Yes.
into the group, and um, and you don't want to just
Mm.
follow. You want to really make an authentic choice. So maybe you connect to a no and realize, oh wait, I want this to make an authentic choice. I don't want to do it because everybody goes in. I want to do it because I want to go in.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my time a little bit more. I'm going to go on my own. And from there, it starts to become a yes. And that's again
Mm.
very powerful if you have been maybe been always someone who did, follow the mass, who did things because
Mm.
others did it.
Mm.
And now they maybe inquire and learn, hey, okay, is this really my choice, or is it because someone else tells me that I should do it, or because someone else is doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's always
exactly.
a self-inquiry process that you can explore, and it can be of value to really see, is this a full yes, or is this maybe a trauma no or a trauma yes?
Yeah, yeah, it's so true, and I find this so important what you were saying, the peer pressure, right? Like the social pressure, in the call there, in a retreat, and in our lives in general, to we are really not listening truly to us, to our authentic self, and um yeah, especially I feel I'm thinking about me or other people who are very aware of others' opinions, or who can easily feel others, and then it's very easy to just kind of follow. Also, a bit what you were saying about your life before all of this, right? That we just follow what,
In front of us.
yeah, what it's there, right?
Yeah,
And we don't question ourselves, and I mean, to me, it's so easily sometimes to get influenced by others, and to not really listen to myself. So I feel that's important.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and then I had also this. I noted this as well because I liked it when you were speaking about some minutes ago about the trust in our body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel it also shows a trust in life and a trust in ourselves, and um, how can we reconnect to that trust in us, with that trust in that we are capable of that, or I don't know, I'm imagining also someone who wants to join a retreat of yours, or who wants to experience this. But for example, me, in my case, I was like, oh, I'm coming from this detox that has destroyed my health, my physical body, and I'm quite of a thin person, and I'm I'm cold very easily, very easily. And so obviously there's this thing of
Can I do it?
unconscious, but yeah, can I do it? And because I don't trust that I can do it, that my body is strong enough.
Yeah,
So how can we increase that strength or that trust in us?
yeah, yeah. Beautiful question. So when you say, "Can we do it?" I think maybe it's nice to clarify what is that it. Like
Mm.
we do. I mean, you did in Iceland cold immersions. We go 5 minutes in the cold, or I don't know. I don't know how long we did. 10 minutes in freezing cold waters, or meditations outdoors in -5, -10 with a wind, or a mountain walk in -5, -10 with snow, with for 1.5 hours in bathing wear, controlling your own mind, controlling your body temperature. So, how can we build trust, or how can we um, reconnect to that part of us? Well, uh, it's funny because 10, I started this journey 13 years ago, and nobody would really know about this. When I would say, yeah, I work with the cold, they were like, what? You work with the cold? And now there is a whole movement happening. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier. People have seen maybe others or heard from others that there is, a benefit to cold exposure. Maybe mentally, maybe for mental health, maybe for um, related to dis-ease, sports,
Mm.
performance improvements. But yeah, how can we regain trust in our own natural capabilities? I think, I don't really have the answer there, but what I like to play with or like to offer is to create a space, a field where you can really explore your own edges in a controlled/safe environment. And then you might say, -10, how is that a safe environment? A mountain in your bikini or in your swimmer, how is that a safe environment? Well, yeah, it's a real life, boom situation. But from my personal experience, when I started this 3 years in, I went all in working with the cold, working with my breath. And so, I practiced alongside and learned a lot from Wim Hof himself. I was basically helping him personally in all of his workshops, in all of his travels. So I've seen him work with thousands of people. And with that started to become a reference for me. Like, oh, whoa, this is how the cold can help someone. And these are the limitations that you can explore, the edges that you can explore. Up till the point where, after a lot of practice myself, it would be normal for me to take 10-minute cold showers in the evening before sleeping. Nowadays, there's being said, don't do it because you stay awake all night. Well, I learned that if you practice a lot, it can actually help you go into amazing lucid dreams and improve your sleep, because your heartbeat actually drops so much when you can stay in there controlled and at ease and in peace. And so I've had many experiences, from healing physical injuries to seeing other people heal migraines, MS, autoimmune diseases, Lyme disease. I had my own herniated disc issue, chronic pain. Like, I've seen a lot of health situations improve, and in the same time, I've gone into the depth of cold exposure. So I think 3 years into my practice or into my journey, I did my own certification to become a teacher. And I was in the same time helping Wim, so I was helping Wim and at the same time doing my own certification. And I believe we climbed a mountain there in -27 in Poland. So we started at -10, -12, -15, 1 hour, 1.5 hour, until we reached the mountaintop. And there it was gray. You could see that there was a storm about to come, and Wim was on, and he went for it. And I was right behind him, and I just went along. The road was completely iced. We couldn't walk on the normal road, so we had to go off-road. It was quite like, now there's mountain guides, but back then it was very it was an open space still, not much backup plans. But how to rebuild this trust is your question. I learned on that mountain there was a storm hitting. It got 80 to 100 kilometers of wind blows. I mean, I literally saw ice, these points of ice hanging off the chains of the road there. It was very cold, to say the least. But I was completely in my zone. I was completely in tune with my breath, and I felt warm inside.
Wow.
When there would be a wind blow, I would feel the ice basically coming onto the outside of my skin. And if I would breathe and exhale, I would feel that ice basically crumbling and dissipating and melting. It was the dance between me and the wind. And so each time the wind would come in, I would get I would maybe freeze like a popsicle for a second, and then I would breathe out, and I would get that warm glow back. And so I ended up learning that if you're present, you can endure, and your body naturally takes over, and you're capable of completely controlling your mind, your body temperature for 2.5 hours in -27 with 100 kilometers wind blows. And that was my reference. And teach, when I guide, I have a certain reference of what is safe and what is possible. And when it is -5 on the mountaintop, I know and I can see in people where they are, what is, what is the possible edge. And with that, on top of that, there is also in that safe environment the option that if you feel too cold, we have a B plan. We have warm clothes with us, some pre-made tea, so that when you do feel like this is my limit, this is my edge, I will put on my first layer. And then as a group, we support that moment. Everyone stays present. So there is certain practices and tools that I inspire people to explore, so that they can learn to listen where they are and respond in a more conscious and empowered way. So that's how I think in Iceland and in these weeks people can, regain a certain trust in themselves. And I like to say, before I started doing cold exposure, I kind of had a 23-degree consciousness. So here in Spain, I mean, I'm doing it myself as well. There's the amazing, I love it, the air conditioning. And it's always like 23 degree here. And then when I step into the car, I put the aircon on, I always try to be in a certain state of coziness. But in the cold, suddenly I learned, boom, there is way more here. So it stretched my capacity, my awareness, and really what is possible. So
wow, yeah, I'm having
yeah.
Sorry, many things are coming into my mind. I always have this problem in podcasts that I get many yeah, then I don't know which path to choose.
To pick.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think what you were saying of the power of the uncomfortable, right? I feel like sometimes we are afraid we are in discomfort lives, with the temperature, but also with emotions, with everything. Like we keep ourselves in this comfort zone. And then we don't dare to go where it's uncomfortable, no, where there's pain, where it's freezing, where there's this big emotion, and then I feel we miss out a lot, because right there is when things happen sometimes.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but also within a safe space that you were also speaking about. And I feel this is also so important for me to say that you I was going to I mean, I wasn't doubting that, but you're really professional. Like, you really feel the safe space, like because I'm imagining people who maybe are thinking, oh, this is really extreme, or this is really dangerous, or and I always felt safe, even if I had my fears and I had obviously my questions, but it always felt safe. So um I think this is also important to state.
Mm.
And and then also at the beginning, when you were talking about the power of presence, because some people may ask, or even myself, I ask, like, how is this even possible? Like, uh, within my rational mind, this is not possible. But then I've experienced this as well, how it is to do a hike in bathing suit or with shorts, and really not being cold, because I was not cold. Actually, I started feeling cold when I got dressed, when I was
Yeah.
putting and, and that really taught me the power of presence. And I feel this is a really important part of your retreats and of your job. This yeah, this presence that we get through breathing, through this focus. And I remember being so focused in the hike, like not looking at people, watching at these strange people naked in the snow doing a hike. I was not looking at them. I was breathing, super focused. And then you experience, like, it doesn't make sense to my mind, but this is
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful combination. The use of your breath in the challenge, the use of
Mm.
your breath as a way to create presence. And the more you learn to work that relationship and that muscle, the more you're like stretching into, hey, all right, this actually feels good. I can actually trust myself. I can actually trust what I'm feeling here.
Mm.
And I feel good. I feel a sense of warmness. I feel a sense of, okay, oneness with my body, oneness with my breath. Oh, yeah, this is really working. And so, breath by breath and step by step, um, you get a, you build trust, you build a body of presence, of love, and a better understanding. Um, hmm.
Is this also why you include breath work in every day in a retreat in the morning, or not?
um, yes, I think breathwork really has it's like a, a passage into your inner world, into, it's like a doorway into what wants to be felt
Okay.
underneath your thinking mind.
Mm.
I've had people who 30, 40 years old, and they told me, I've never cried in my life. I
Wow.
mean, I've never
Yeah,
cried in
yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Of course, when they were a baby, probably they cried a lot, and later a little bit as well. But kind of like expressing, I haven't cried in 20, 30 years. And he said that on the first day, looking at others who started crying. He was like, well, that's not really going to happen with me because, I don't cry. And the second day, he bawled his eyes out. And, you know, I gave him a big hug and I said, it's okay, and let it
Yeah.
out, let it free. And the breath has that capacity to open you up to what has been maybe lingering underneath the surface. So
Mm.
it resurfaces memories, it resurfaces um, experiences that you've had in your life that you've maybe not worked out or worked through. And you know, if um, if subconsciously all of these unworked out experiences are, you are carrying them,
Mm.
they cannot go out if you don't feel them. They cannot
Mm.
go out if you don't allow it to move through you. And so what happens often is that we create mechanisms. Our mind is amazing in coming up with creative ways to not feel these experiences again. So when you start doing breath work, you basically open the door again for
Wide open.
experiences, yeah, to move through you and to get out. And there is a sigh in your nervous system, there is a sigh in your emotions, and with that, you become more open to yourself. You feel better again, and you feel more of yourself again. And this is part of the work that I like to offer in those retreats, to really free yourself from these nervous system knots, from these weights that you're carrying around. And with that, through these powerful breath practice, you maybe realize why you were holding on to something, or how this trauma or negative experience has shaped certain realities in your life, right? Maybe you've been bullied as a child, and you went inwards and introvert, and you didn't want to open up your heart. Maybe you've been you've had a traumatic relationship, and you've closed yourself, and you don't ever want to have a relationship anymore. That's a trauma or negative experience that's still lingering and holding on. Is that really you? Is that really truly what you want? No, that's a trauma speaking, and it is informing your life. It's manifesting your life. So an important part of the work is becoming free of those things that are holding you back in life. And breath work is a very powerful tool to get in touch with that, and reshape a new reality. When you learn, hey, this has been holding me back because of this. That's not really true. That's not really how I want to live. This is how I want to live. This is who I want to be. This is who I want to become. And so it's a combination of breath work and then finding your edge and really shaping, okay, wow, this is who I am and who I want to be. And it's a powerful combination.
Yeah, indeed. Because would you say that the final goal, if there's a goal, no, but I'm thinking, why are people drawn to this work? Like, why was I drawn to this kind of experience? So would you say that the final goal is to experience yourself, your true self, or and let go of these limitations, or what would you do?
I mean, beautiful question. Beautiful question. Stop me if I'm going way
You
too
can go.
over. But I mean, I truly believe that we are here on earth. Each and every soul, human being here on earth, comes here with the desire to experience something that is fulfilling to their soul, or everyone is here with a soul's mission to experience something, or to create something, or to um, um, like pursue what is really in your heart. And very often traumas can get in the way of what you are meant to be living here on earth, what you're meant to become. It troubles and clouds your mind and your decision making, and it is informing you that you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't speak on stage, because then you may get rejected, and you don't want to feel that again. So then you don't do it. Right? That's an example. I think wherever we are afraid, there is actually an opportunity to grow and to connect with something that you are meant to experience, something that you're meant to work through. And when you do so, that's when you you live your soul's purpose, and you
Mm.
feel in your power, you feel in your joy. You're like creating a life that you want to live, and you're meant to live. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't come with challenges,
Yeah.
but all these challenges that come up are also opportunities to work through some of the patterns that have maybe held you back in the past.
Mm.
And I think maybe that's an ultimate goal, to continue to live your most authentic and joyful and empowered life, really. And if that means sometimes getting on stage or doing a podcast, even if it makes you feel afraid, um, yeah, or making a painting and putting it out into the world, right? Or making a song and putting it out into the world, like expressing
Mm.
that gift that's on your heart. Um, I What comes up for me is a quote that I read. I believe it's a quote from a Hopi tribe that I read in a book from one of the elders, and he said, "When you're not expressing your gifts, when you're not truly expressing your unique gifts, you're stealing from creation."
Yeah.
And I found that a very touching one. Like,
Mm.
in a way, um, when you are expressing your gifts, you're adding to the field of creation. You can take a part in what is created in life, and we can create beauty, we can do harm, we can do bad things, we cannot show up at all, right? We
Yeah.
have a choice there.
Wow.
So I think that's the ultimate goal, to come to that pure bliss and purpose, and expressing that part of you.
Wow. Beautiful answer, Joren. Beautiful answer. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I love it. Yeah, it touches me so much because and I think so many people can relate to that. We think we are protecting ourselves, right? When we don't dare to do the things that we would want to do because we are afraid, because we have all of these blockages, these traumas, but actually we are not doing a service to anyone. And it's like we have a kind of, I don't like the word obligation, but a duty to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
express and shine our gifts. And
Yeah.
yeah, oh my God, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and every time I've done something that I was so afraid to do. And I recently made a post about this because I went to this festival in France and to lead a workshop, but it also was very out of my comfort zone. And the whole thing, like the whole experience, going to a festival with electronic music, like being with so many people. Anyway, it was very out of my comfort zone, but I also felt this pull. And I was so afraid for so many things, but then the gifts that I got of this experience and how joyful my soul was, and
Yeah.
how it could be expressed in ways that I could not
Put
find
in
a way
words.
to express. Yes,
Yeah.
it was just incredible. So I encourage people to really go through their fears and really dare to move beyond their fears, and
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think that's where we find ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, I I got someone telling me last year, um, and I that hit me. Joshua, you know him.
Uh,
He said, Joren, if you don't speak more, if you don't do podcasts, if you're not sharing more of your stories, you know what? I'm just gonna plainly tell you, you're being selfish.
love Joshua. He was right.
And I'm like, you're right. You're actually right, because I know
Mm,
that
mm,
what I've learned, what I've
mm.
experienced, someone out there can
Yeah,
benefit.
yeah, yeah,
Someone out there needs to hear a part of what I experienced and can use that in his or her own life.
yeah,
And if I'm keeping that to myself, if I'm being shy, or
yeah,
if I let this ego basically
yeah,
stand in my way of expressing, then what value am I creating? Not that you always have to do that, but you have a gift there. You have an
Mm.
offer to the world, and um, we tend to often make it about ourselves.
Yes.
Like, okay, I don't want to
Mm.
do it, but
Mm.
actually, this thing that you need to express
Mm.
is for the field, is for someone else,
Mm.
and that's when you get such a soul response, like you described, like people thanking you, like, you know, you've added, you've expressed, and there's always at least one person who receives value
Yeah.
and needed to hear what you had to say.
Yeah.
And this is also something that I really had to learn. I mean, I had my own moments of curling up in a ball, and I
Yeah.
still have,
Yeah,
you
me
know, and I'm
too.
like afraid, and I don't want to
Yeah.
go on a podcast or share myself, you know. So
Yeah.
it's part of being human as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe also to answer that part, how can we build up that trust again? Like start with becoming aware of what makes you afraid, and then take one step closer into that direction. So if you want to do a podcast, or if you want to write a book, public a book instead of publishing the book and trying to really make that happen, start with writing your first sentences. Start with, if you're afraid of the cold, start with just doing your feet,
Mhm.
right? Or just maybe put your hands in cold water. Like, find your edge and see if you can get comfortable within that edge. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
And then you
that's,
look back, you don't realize you look back, and then you're amazed at all the way, all the path how
yeah,
far you've come
yeah.
by doing these little steps.
And this is interesting. Once you've gone through the step, a lot of people, they don't really acknowledge that they were afraid in the very first place. It has become their new normal.
Yes. 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 Totally.
It's like people come
I
in,
yeah. I couldn't have done this 3 years ago, or post things on Instagram, and then you realize, okay, now it's my normal. Like,
yeah, now it's the new normal. So what's next? And then
yeah,
there's a new little fear that comes up, you know? And then you have to work through that. And it's a game. It's really a
yeah,
game. It's a
yeah,
spiritual journey.
yeah.
And I'll never forget. I had a lady in Iceland who knew some of the challenges that her through a friend that we would do in Iceland, and you know, we do many different things, and every
Mm,
week is truly different. But um, I like to play with sometimes a jump in the cold
mm,
in water, and she had heard that we would do something like that. She was like, Joren, I have to talk with you. Can we please sit down? And I'm like, okay. I could feel the nervous tension, and she was like so scared. So I checked in with her, tuned in with her, and she said, "When are we gonna do the jump?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have a program. I don't know. Maybe end of the day, maybe next at the end of the week." And every day she would come to me like, "Are we gonna do the jump today?" She started to get angry on me. Yeah, and finally, maybe I played with that, I don't know, subconsciously, but we did something like that on the last day. And it was her turn. And she was shaking. She was like so tensed. She would go to the edge and finally make the jump. I was like, wow, she did it. She went out, she warmed up, and she was the first and the only one who said, "Can I go again?"
I love it.
It's like
Yeah.
a new normal was
New
created.
normal. Yes. And then you even have the feeling of it wasn't even
It wasn't even that
that
difficult.
much. Yeah, that difficult. I don't know
Yeah.
why I was so afraid, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
story in the mind that
yeah,
creates
yeah,
a blockage. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
that's part of the journey.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think
Yeah.
that's a beautiful ending. I think we've come to an end. Thank you so much, Joren,
Thank you.
uh, for sharing all of this all of us who are listening to this or watching
Yeah.
this. And I don't know if you want to say a final words or something about where people can find you or anything that you may want to share or
Yeah, well, first of all, amazing to have had this conversation with you. I felt like we had a lot of fun. It was really awesome to do this with you.
Mm,
So thank you for inviting
mm,
me, and I appreciate you very much.
mm,
Um,
me too.
and yeah, it's a blessing to be able to share uh,
Yeah.
some of these stories and what has helped me. And I hope that even if it's one person who received value from this, I know this has been, you know, of value and of worth. Um, and yeah, just, I mean, where can people find me? We have, I lead retreats. Like we went into that deeply in Iceland and in Sweden. In Iceland, I do them once a year um, with a mixed group, men and women, and that's in October. One will come up, I think, the 27th of October to the 4th of November. There's a week coming up in Sweden that's only for men, and there we will also combine all of the work that we described with like primitive living and primitive
Mm.
survival. Um, and those are kind of two of my babies, my part of my my offerings. I have a website, Into the Wild Within. That's the brand, and there you can find those retreats. Yeah, that's it.
Good, perfect. So I hope someone might join and might be at least curious, no, about what we've been speaking. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Joren. Thank you,
Yes,
everyone listening.
thank you, and ciao,
See
ciao, ciao in Spanish.
you.